the groundhog died?
It is February 2nd when we are recording this, which is actually my great-great-grandmother's birthday. May she rest in peace. And I just saw a news story that said the groundhog died hours before it was supposed to come out, I guess. And I just read the headline. And now you have music playing.
I don't know why anything's playing. I'm going to pause that, though. Tony Robbins, salute to you. I'm going to exit that out as well.
Okay. We're going to get our shit together one of these days.
Shit's together.
Right. So I'm really excited. If you're watching this on YouTube, we've had some like weird technical difficulties trying to align our new good quality camera with our audio. And so we can put our full episodes of our podcast in video form up on YouTube. And today we've like changed our scene around. We are sitting closer together, which I love. And I think we've got it all down, right?
Yeah, it's coming around. Well, I think we can make the quality better. This probably changes the quality a little bit from the camera and this and that. But overall, the aesthetics are much better, yes.
Yeah. We are all about just going for it.
Yeah, she wants shit to be way better, way sooner.
Well, I want things to be, yes, I guess I was about to repeat you.
I just want to get started and fucking,
I'm all about getting started, though.
Hey, jump off the mountain, build the plane on the way down.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what we're doing. And if you look at the last few videos we put out, you'll see that.
And you see the lighting's better on her. That's because we only have one light. There's going to be more lights.
We prioritized. Okay,
I said her. We're talking about you. I'm talking to you.
You are talking straight to me, buddy.
Yeah.
And we're about to get real fucking real.
Okay, let's do this thing.
So I feel like we've made a commitment to overshare. Mm-hmm. Like fully with anyone that's watching or listening in everything that we do. No walls. We will tell you anything that you ask, anything you want to know, even things that you don't ask and maybe don't want to know. We're going to share it. And I think that a big part of that is because we are sharing the sectors that we found success in and the things that we've grown in and how things used to be shitty and now they're great when it comes to business, relationships, health, whatever it is. And I think that when we do that and when we talk about like, yes, we made this huge stride in our business, or yes, we hit the $2 million mark, I don't think you're getting a true full picture of what success, of what it takes to build that, and what, for us at least, if we're not sharing all sectors of our life. And we realized when we were planning our next few podcast episodes, a thing that's like the biggest part of our life that we have not shared much about is our kids and us as parents.
And that's monumental, because there's a lot of people growing businesses out there. There's a lot of people in our industry, right? Mm-hmm. And, when I see some of the people that are growing businesses and have YouTube channels, a fair amount of them, and maybe this is wrong, but it feels like a fair amount of them that are growing in size don't have kids, or they don't talk about their kids as much. Overall, the aspect of ours is, I think we mentioned this on maybe a live or something recently, like this is about growing your life and everything, right? So it's not just about growing this business and making all this sacrifice, which there's going to be a lot of sacrifice, but it's about building a life and doing your best to be I want to be the best parent I can be every day. That's the first thing I write down in my journal when I start writing my chunk of goals every morning, is I'm the best father and husband I can be every day. Sometimes I fail at that and sometimes I win at that. And, I try to have more wins than I have failures, but that's super important to me. And that's a big aspect of everything you're doing, because like a lot of people are building a business for their kids, like to have money and to do things, to have a family, to have a life, not to just constantly have an ultimate sacrifice and lose some of what we're going to get into later in this, some of the most important years of your kids' lives.
Like we know, like in everything that we do on your YouTube, on the podcast, like we know exactly who we're speaking to. Like the large majority of people that this is for and who we are directly speaking to is their parents, and they're married, and they're navigating all these new waters, not just in business, but also in parenthood, because we know that every day is your kid's a little different. And for us, we have 3 kids. They are 2, 4, and 6, 2 boys and a girl, Jace, Blake, and Sunny. They are the best things in the whole world. And it's cool for us because our parenthood journey has really coincided with the business journey, because we have talked about that before, but like we got pregnant with Jace at the same time that you were really launching this off the ground. So we have been growing in each sector of those areas, and in our relationship, it's just affected everything this whole time. So today we're going to dive deep into who we are as parents, kind of how we parent, how we make it work with, business and our relationship and all the things. I don't even know everything we're going to get into yet going into it. I have some short notes. I'm excited just to kind of let it unravel, and nothing that we're going to say is a judgment on what anyone else does. This is and this isn't even like an advice episode. This is just a straight up, here's us oversharing about us as parents. So I'm excited.
I don't want to take away that there'll definitely be some nuggets in this that really shine, because we're talking about growing a business, what we've done so far, and just this journey of parenthood through that. So
I guess I meant
it is just our conversation. I get it, but there's still going to be nuggets, because someone might see something that's huge in there for them.
Obviously. Well, I just mean it's not a how to parent episode, because I don't feel like we're qualified to
we're definitely not qualified
do a how to parent your kids episode.
I saw that look on your face. You don't.
How we parent our kids.
I didn't mean to step on your conversation.
Well, I feel like it's assumed. There'll be nuggets, hopefully, right? We'll let you know when we get to the end of it. Maybe you can let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know if there's nuggets.
Hopefully. Okay, so this is what I was going to say. I was trying to sum up our parenting style to kind of explain us as parents. And what I always come back to is the attachment parenting style. And that was started by William and Martha Sears, who are like parenting gurus, they write all the books and stuff. And they're doctors, and they're very smart people. They should do a how to parent podcast episode. But basically, we're very and this may sound silly, because a parent listening to it may be isn't everyone, but we're very loving, warm, and responsive to the emotional needs of our kids. And attachment parenting itself kind of is distinct from past generations, where you were more cold and distant from your kids. It's a real thing, and it's been a real shift. And I knew that we both knew without ever even having a conversation when we had our first baby that this is how we're going to parent, that a lot of mainstream trends and beliefs don't align with who we are.
Yeah.
It's really evolved in a cool way to see our kids really become these really interesting people. And I think that this is going to be something that a lot of people are intrigued by, confused by, alarmed by for many reasons. We co-sleep with all of our kids. Our bedroom, and we have a big master bedroom with 2 queen beds pushed together.
It's the best thing I've ever done. I can't imagine, I've said this a lot, but I just can't imagine not having my kids with me. I can't imagine not having the people I want to spend the most time with. And I've got these fleeting moments of where I can cuddle them and love them. And I don't want to give up those moments. I know I've got so many friends that are get the kids out of the bedroom, this and that and the other, but
that works for a lot of people.
That does work for a lot of people. Everybody do their own thing, right? But the co-sleeping and sleeping with the kids, and having all that room and having all that love and having all that time, is just, I feel like it's monumental to our family.
It's so funny too. I remember this like it was yesterday. So our first baby, Jace, who is 6 now, was born prematurely, and he spent 2 weeks in the NICU. And when we were leaving the NICU after 2 terrifying weeks where he would stop breathing on his own, and it was just a lot. You put this little teeny tiny 5-pound baby in a car seat, and they're going to let you leave with him. And they give you they gave me this huge, terrifying speech on, if you sleep with your baby will die. If you do this, your baby will die. If you don't do this, your baby will die. And that was I was like, holy shit, that's a lot. So, and you were there, you heard it. So we had a nursery set up, as you do. And I remember coming home with the baby. I was exhausted. And within an hour of being home, I fell asleep with him on my chest. And you freaked out. You're like, what are you doing?
You're going to kill the baby.
The baby will die. And I couldn't explain. So then I tried one nap. The next nap, I tried to put Jason in his crib, and I don't think he slept well. And I had this crazy gut thing where I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And literally from that moment on, we threw caution to the wind, apparently, and we co-slept because I was breastfeeding, and it never felt scary. And it's crazy how that evolved, and you just really trusted it from then on. Like, we both just kind of took a breath, and we were like, wait, that was what we were told, but this is what it feels like. And since then, I mean, we've gone through periods where you sleep in a different room, or then when we had our second baby, you slept with Jace in one bed and I slept with the baby in another bed. Like, we've gone through these separation things, and our sleeping situation has changed because I feel like I've been pregnant and breastfeeding for years, but now we are all in one room, and it's so true. Like, the boys have their own bedroom. They could sleep in their own room, but man,
I'm just not pushing for that to change.
Yeah. And they're always invited to, they always know that they can. They know, they're not ready yet. And we're totally fine with it. Like, it's just, it works so well for us. So that's a little bit about that. But I think that shines a big light on how we parent in general, because I know some people are listening to that and probably thinking, how the hell do you have a marriage with that kind of scenario, with that many extra people in your bed? And obviously we've talked about it a lot. Like, our relationship is thriving. Like, we are in the best place we've been in ever.
Yeah.
So you just make the big bed, lots of kids thing work.
Yeah. I feel like the hardest thing is, just trying to get everybody to sleep so you can
Oh my
sneak
God.
around.
Yes. I go through so much work in a day to wear out those children enough so we can plan our night. Cause I mean, God, we're exhausted. I don't know. That is not a podcast episode that I want to do. That's please email us in what you do. How do you outlast your kids? Like even if you're in a separate bedroom, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to know what other people do and how they get actual romantic alone time with kids that like stay up late.
Yeah.
Because even if they were in another room, I would be like, I wouldn't be able to be in the zone if I knew they were awake.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
In the zone.
in the zone, I would like to hear you talk a little bit about how much we have traveled the last few years, and how I want to lead into this, how our whole thing is creating experiences and traveling. That's why we bought our RV. We've, been on so many flights with our kids. I used to fly alone with our kids to you and to and from you. Like, we've done so much traveling.
Yeah, so we're going back years now.
No, I'm bringing it right back to how the whole regulations in airports have really stunted what we're doing.
I got you.
I'd like to hear your stance on us maintaining, like, being strong in the decisions we're making for our kids in that aspect.
My kids have never worn a mask, and my kids will never wear a mask. And, so that changes a lot of, we traveled so much. We did so many different things all the time. And I know that we've really like dug our heels into, that's where we're at. And that's what a lot of why we love where we live. Some of the decision when this was already a place that we loved, and knew we were going to at least have a home to some extent at some point, no matter what. And I know that there's multiple areas that we feel that way about. But once all of this kind of came about, that's a lot of why we got the motorhome, so we could continue traveling, continue having experiences, because experiences are really important to us. Being able to move around is really important to us. And that's something that all last year, traveling to Colorado and going to different events, like doing the dirt biking thing and going to campsites and doing stuff, it allowed us to keep traveling. And then this year, getting back into racing, starting to kind of use it again. So I guess that was 2 years ago when we were going to Colorado. It's crazy how time flies, because last year we didn't travel much because we came here. I mean, we started everything up in Florida, and 2021 was really dedicated to getting this thing up and on the road.
But you know what's so cool about that? I feel like every weekend in Florida was so new that we were going to like different beaches and new places, because we're obviously in this new place that's really free and there are not those regulations.
Yeah.
So it feels like we didn't travel. Like, no, we weren't on planes and stuff, and we didn't take the RV across the United States, but we did have so many new experiences.
Yeah.
So that was fun. We found a way that works for us to maintain the values and what we believe is right for our family, while also still the experiences is so important, like you said. And that kind of leads me into our stance on school, which people ask us a lot about as our kids are getting older is kind of what we're doing with that. And we always knew we would homeschool.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to homeschool long before the world is in total like craziness like it is now. We always wanted to be able to move around and travel, and I didn't want to have to be locked down to, our kids going to school. And I wanted to be homeschooled. I wanted to be homeschooled for racing, and I never really knew then that it was going to turn into something where I thought the outcome would be much better than going to a school anyway. There are aspects of school that are good, but like my whole school journey, I could take it or leave it. I got so little out of school and then saw that college wasn't going to give me anything that was headed in any of the directions I was going, that I didn't see the benefit, and for my kids, I feel like they can learn so much more from being around the business, learning about finances, learning about the real struggles that we go through, the challenges that we have to overcome versus, the school system. School system hasn't changed in forever. The whole world has evolved and it's still designed to create factory workers, sit down, shut up, raise your hand if you want to talk, blow the whistle, midday, blow the whistle at noon, and then blow the whistle when you go home, kind of thing. And it's just never really changed. So my school experience was poor. Add on top of that, I went to a college prep school that I personally hate. I hate the school. I hated my experience there even more because their whole focus wasn't so much about making sure the kids excelled and did well. It was all about the numbers to show they were going to college. So if, that's all that mattered to that school. And that gave me a very tainted view of what schools do for kids. Mm-hmm. And do I think that college is bad for everybody? No. But I think that if you're going to go to college, you better be going for something that it really matters that you go to college for. I don't think you should go and do an at-home doctor's course, and try to become a doctor. You're going to be very unsuccessful that way. But a lot of things, you're unfortunately a perfect example of someone that went to school.
Hey, hold on. Let me tell my story.
You love school though.
I love school so much. And it's so funny how night and day different our history and experiences are. I was about to say that. So, and my homeschool journey is not the typical homeschool journey. Very briefly, I went to a Baptist school until fifth grade. Through fifth grade, it was horrible. The horrible place. I truly hope that it burns to the ground over summer break when no one's there. And maybe it already has. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. And then the summer before sixth grade, my parents had a very abusive kind of tumultuous situation at home. And I got in my head that if I stopped going to school, I would be able to protect my mom because my dad worked nights at that time. So I was like, well, that's when a lot of stuff must happen. So if I'm home during the day, then I can do that. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I told her, I was like, I want to be homeschooled. And that started. So starting sixth grade, I was homeschooled, which really turned into me buying books on eBay for myself and just reading a lot. We didn't do textbooks that I can remember. I just would decide what I wanted to read, and I read it until I was 16. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I feel like I could do something else. I feel like I'm over this. I'm bored. It was a very unhealthy environment. And I started going to college at 16, and I got my bachelor's at 20, and I started a master's program at 20, dropped out of that on my 21st birthday, and then stopped going to school. But I got a degree in criminal justice that I wholeheartedly at that time believed I would use. Yep. That's where my interests were. But it's so crazy how life, kind of evolves. And then I worked in social work for a few years before we had kids. So, I did use it, but I love school. I think all the time I want to go take a night class somewhere. I love anything that I could do. And you love education. So it's not different that way, except that I just really like instructor-led things.
Yeah. I guess what makes me mad is once I found out what I wanted to learn, I learned more in a year than I learned in all of my education.
So true.
So if I was going to gain a lot, if I saw the upside in school, I probably would have learned a lot as well. But I just didn't see that being that monumental for me. Do I think that there's some good things? Yeah. But that leads me back to why I'm passionate about homeschooling. I feel like, our kids are going to find their own way. They're going to learn a lot from being around the business. They're going to be put in a lot of very interesting experiences that they probably wouldn't have the opportunity to do if they were just in school, and like, and if and when we can travel more, like, I want to take I've always aspired, like, more than like all the school stuff. I want to show my kids different cultures, different things, like different things around the world, and try to just broaden their knowledge of what life is.
And that is all contingent on what happens in the world, which is sort of like a bleak for us because we know where we stand. And I so often, like with the headlines now, I'm like, man, like sometimes I feel like that future that we envision of like showing them the different countries and the different cultures and the different major cities, like it feels like it's being taken away. So it will be interesting to see kind of what happens. But in terms of homeschooling, this is our first official year doing it with our 6-year-old. And actually our 4-year-old went to a preschool homeschool class today at our nature park. Like Florida, where we're at right now, there's so many cool homeschool communities. They go to like 1 or 2 classes a week. Sometimes I don't put them in one at all. It's like you sign up for each one that you want to go to. Yep. But there's so much, because I know socialization is something that people always bring up when you talk about homeschool. You have this like, there's this, image of a homeschooled child, which I think is changing now, especially because so many people have chosen to homeschool the last year or two.
Yeah.
But like our children have no issue with socialization. First of all, there's 3 of them. Second of all, these classes are so cool, and it's a lot of people just like us. So it's just like really becoming like a well-rounded experience so far. And plus kindergarten is very like low stress. We're just like learning the basics. We're having fun with it.
Yeah. And
I'm excited to see what's going to happen and how teaching them and guiding them in the ways that we will be different for each of them, because they're so different.
Yeah, and I guess I know that not all our kids are not all going to be exactly like me and want to learn the way I learned. I just see so many people that are prime examples of like that they go to a tech school or they go to school and they get out and they don't know shit about the real world. And then they get out and they don't make any money. And I don't know, like you could start in our business and work up in our business and make more money than some of these people in college do in like a short time, just from getting experience. And so many things are like that the world cares more about your actual experience than your degree now. And trades and stuff are going to massively, I believe, come back around, because that's not like no one knows how to do anything anymore. The trades are not important, and the world still needs to be built and still needs to evolve. So like that's going to come back around. Like, yeah, I know we've got all of these computer things going on right now, but when we've got this influx of people who only know how to do stuff that isn't like, they don't know anything about trades. Like, and I think that's why it's kind of hard in our industry that you see all these people and it's crazy. They've never started a weed eater or anything like that. But like, there's that side of it where there's so much opportunity there and all you have to do is go in and get started. And then there's the opportunity to like, look at like the tech industry, dude, huge companies, Google's, Apple's, Tesla's, they don't give a shit about your degree. They care about like what you've actually done and learned. And like most of the people that get really good in technology have been self-taught. Like they figured out so much stuff just on their own. Like,
I just don't understand. Like as I age in life, I realized that anything I would have put down in my resume never got verified. So you could just put that you had a degree. Like, do people do that? People must do that, right?
I don't know.
People must do that because like who's going to verify?
I mean, I guess I've got people that come here and say that they're, everything in the world and can't do anything. So yeah, I mean, I guess people lie on their applications.
I guess.
But stuff does get verified. People call them verified.
It's interesting. Yeah, I guess. But degrees, I don't know. But it's interesting to hear you say that, you think our kids, because there's 3 of them, our kids are going to learn in different ways than what we learn. But what I think is so cool about what we're building is we have within our company, we have the tools to lead them in whatever. Like, are you more led towards mechanical things and field work? Then this is so cool because you can literally master a craft here. Or are you more led towards the analytical side or the creative side? It's like you could, not that our kids are even going to want to work in our business, but it's cool how this actually becomes a homeschool tool just like right here. And it's I love that for us as they get older to see what they'll kind of venture into.
And what I'm really happy about that a school I just don't know. Like what I'm really happy about is like I see all these employees all the time, and our biggest focus is, you know, maybe they come in to do one thing, but then we realize like other things are in their wheelhouse that they're much stronger at. And so why wouldn't you want to do the stuff that's in your wheelhouse so you can really, really excel? That's the things that are in your wheelhouse are what's going to get you the biggest gains, that's going to allow you to grow the fastest. And what's really cool about that is I get to watch my kids and see, like, you know, if college is the best fit and that makes the most sense, like I would obviously lead them that way. If what they're like the school I was at, like it was all about going to college because it was all for the numbers. And when you got classes with like my graduating class had like 27 people in it, like law of large numbers, like if you have a massive amount of numbers, one or two people not going doesn't affect it that much. When you got 27 people, it affects it a lot more. And they still won on me because I did go to a college, you know, what is it? Like
community college?
Community college. But, like I'll be able to actually guide them to what's their biggest benefit. You know, is that going to be, should we go to college? Is it going to be a trade school? Is it going to be continue on being in our business and then me try to connect you? Maybe like you don't like our business, but I can connect you with a owner of another business that is something more in line with what you like. And like, you know, there's so much direction that we can help guide them in that I don't feel like the typical kid necessarily gets, because there's so much stuff and potential growth paths for your children when you're involved in a business.
I was about to say, that is a nugget right there, is to look at, so many of us are, like you said, building our businesses for our kids, or building this to leave to them or whatever. And you think that in a general sense, but when you think about how it's a really cool educational tool that they would never be too young to be exposed to, that's really cool. And how we get to kind of integrate it with homeschooling, I love. And then also, I mean, let's say in 10 to 12 years, when you're having that actual conversation with our kids, gosh, what will our business options be? How many other businesses will we have started? You know, it's cool to think the possibilities are so unlimited. And I love that. Let's talk about childcare and how we are in a season of life where we are not swimming in grandparents. Your dad lives with us, but your dad's really like living his best life now that we're in Florida. And we are not, since we become parents, we don't really go out. I can count on like probably one hand how many times we've gone out, maybe both hands, since we've become parents, truly.
You mean, but excluding date nights? Like,
well, no, excluding date nights. I mean, well, okay, no, I was thinking like, yes, we do our weekly date night. And we're gone for a couple hours. I was thinking more of like a weekend, like be gone, be we're never really away from our kids unless you go to a conference. It's back to the whole attachment parenting thing. Like we thrive on not just routine, like in our lives, but we thrive on being with our kids. And if I'm not working, I'm with the kids. It's just as simple as that. Like I am very, what did you say earlier? Not selfish with your time,
yeah, just very concise
selective.
And very selective with your time, with what you do. You know, I'm not going to just give away precious hours. It this networking group where they wanted me to do, like I got into this position that I didn't really mean to get into thing. And it turned into I wasn't into making the commitments I had to make for this position. I didn't pay enough attention going in, basically. I just go-darted it and flew into it. And I just realized that even though those, like, I never, did not mean to hit the mics. Apologize to everyone that may be listening to our conversation here. I don't like to get into things where if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, right? And I got into this and I realized that there were some other requirements that they were asking me to make that I wasn't okay with making, because I'm very, very conscious with the time that I have. And I'm going to take any of my extra time and I'm going to give it to my family and my kids. I'm not going to do extra stuff that, honestly, to me right now, that the value is not there for me to be involved in it.
Like we're very confident in all that we do. We're very confident in who we are as parents, everything that we're presenting here. Like I have the utmost confidence that we're making the best decisions for our families. So it's exciting to share in that way. The only thing that sometimes I think of is like, gosh, a weekend away, just me and you
would be so nice.
Would be so nice. And that's such a nice thought. And so many people do it. And I have those like pings of jealousy when I see my friends with small kids doing that, because I'm like, oh, but then I also know the reality for me is like, I would be in a hotel room somewhere trying to fall asleep with sheer panic, thinking our house is burning down and not being able to sleep because the baby's not cuddled up with me. Like, you know what I mean? It would take me days. Like, you know how they say with a vacation, like it takes like 4 days or whatever to actually wind down. Like, I don't think a weekend away would, at this season of life, would be very relaxing. But that's all it is. And that's a big conversation too. It's like, we are in such a short season of life with very small kids that it's beautiful. Like, I'm never going to look back on this and think we missed out on going to more bars and we missed out on trips away, because when our kids are teenagers, you know, that's when we'll do that. And we have a really great, I
don't care about most, like a lot of that stuff I just don't care about. You know, you get involved in trying to expand your life and be better for everything around you to grow more. And you stop caring about like partying and things that don't really contribute to the greater mission.
Well, and kids don't get the memo when you're hungover. And that's a big thing for me, especially now that I'm in my 30s and hangovers last so long when I drink so little. It's like, I don't want to feel like crap and have to parent. And that's the reality, because I want to be around my kids. Yep. So it's sort of like we're just choosing like wellness and energy and Saturday mornings over Saturday nights. And I love that. I love where we're at right now. And it's going to be cool to see kind of what our life looks like when our kids are older and don't want to like lay on top of us all of the time. And we do get that separation. It'll be fun to like revisit all these thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I just had a fleeting thought. Oh,
a fleeting thought.
As a parent, what is the biggest thing you want to teach our kids? Or the biggest message, or the biggest, what's the biggest takeaway?
Only two things.
Okay.
So the two things that I want to teach my kids. So when I went to the said school that I'm, knocking repetitively over and over again, there was an amount of time, and it took me till like a little way through high school to realize I don't give a shit what other people think. And when you learn that, you start to learn that because you mature and you grow and you realize it's not about other people. But when you start to learn that, and my dad, he said something to me once, the people you're around, the people that are all your friends now, like there's probably not going to be that many of them left down the road, because it's just a high school thing, right? And like in all of this happening and me realizing I really don't give a shit what people think, like you start maturing and learning this. And I just wish I could have learned that faster, because it helps you cut through the bullshit more, like it's not about what people think about you. It's about what you want to do and what you want to become. And what if people think you're an idiot or stupid or weird, like that's irrelevant. And so one of the biggest things that just doesn't get taught is I want to teach my kids that literally everybody else can go fuck themselves. It doesn't matter what they think about you, how you like the things you want to create and become. Like, obviously I don't want you to be like the world's worst person, right? But it's totally irrelevant. And I think just the culture of our school, especially when you're in like a college prep school where the whole thing is prep and people are all trying to impress each other because it's all about who's cool, which is like the ultimate environment of the opposite of that, because it breeds you thinking that matters. And then unfortunately that lasts really far into your life, and it fucks you because no one gives a fuck about you. Like no one cares when you get out into the real world, no one gives a fuck if you were the prom queen or the prom king or whatever. No one cares about that shit. And then reality hits you and it hurts those people much worse. So I want to teach my kids that what other people think about them just does not matter. And secondly, the second most important thing is just like our clothing line, like stay uncomfortable, do the hard things all the time. Like if it's hard, it's probably the right thing to do. If it scares you, it's probably what you should stop the easy shit that you were doing and start doing. So, I mean, that's really it.
I want to teach our children, and I want this to be a huge takeaway from their childhood, is to give. Even when you feel like you don't have enough. To look around and realize how much you really do have. That's something I've been kind of instilling in them lately. It's like a local family here, their house burned down and they have like 3 or 4 kids and they literally lost everything and they're taking, donations for things. And I was telling the kids about that and like but they're safe and they're together and how we have extra things and we can give. And like same thing when we see, there's always, this has been a big lesson lately is there's a homeless guy, the nicest guy ever, that sits outside of Publix. And a couple times when I go grocery shopping with the kids, I will give him some water and some grocery, like I'll buy extra to give to him on our way out and any cash that I have. And it doesn't matter if I give him like $3 and a little Lunchable, or I gave him $20 last time and a few more things. He lights up and he's like, thank you so much. That's so much. This is the most I've gotten in days. Like he goes out of his way. And I really made that a big lesson for the kids because they were right there to see it. It's like, look at how like incredibly thankful he is and look at how much we have. Like we need to be giving more. And because it's so funny with kids, especially with small kids, it's like, I want a new toy. Can I get a toy? So it's kind of like reminding them like, you don't need a new toy. Look at how thankful he is just to have like lunch, and that's actually, it's on my to-do list of this man at Publix has like inspired me. I think we need to be launching some kind of community effort to give in a more substantial way. So I'm excited to sit down and have a meeting with you about that.
There you go.
That's my other thing. I have to remind myself constantly as a mom, just love them. None of the little shit matters. Just like what they're going to remember from this time is how much love was in their home. And so that's more of a reminder for me, but it's what I want their takeaway to be. Now I want to touch on something that this is unplanned. You got a message from someone in business who is a husband and kids, and the message basically just said like shit hit the fan at home. We don't know anything, about what's going on there, but I guess knowing the weight on your shoulders as a business owner, a dad and a husband, like what would you say to the people who, like, if someone is listening and it's not all rainbows and butterflies, right now, like they are really drowning kind of in this part of life, like what kind of encouragement?
First and foremost, you got to realize that it's always darkest before it's light. Like that there's always an end to everything. Like there is no matter how bad it is, everything is temporary. And so first, it's really hard, but I would try to realize that and come to grips with that. And then from there, once you realize that, look at like what happened, evaluate and try to make decisions to move forward. Because like if you sit there and think about it and try to, oh, poor me, or whine about it, like it's not going to do shit. It's just like in a business. You got to get, like you had momentum in the wrong direction, obviously. So you need to try to turn tides and get momentum in the right direction. And the hardest thing is to get momentum. So you got to take action and create some kind of momentum and try to be headed in the right direction.
And I think it's our duty as parents. Like we started this talking about how this message is obviously for the people who have kids and can understand that. Like it is our duty to do well, be well, treat people well, to figure the shit out and get through it. Even when it is super, super dark, like the kids are in that darkness then too. Yep. And it is temporary, but it's like your duty to be the light out of it. Yep. And I think that can be so hard when you're in the thick of it. But I believe everything happens for a reason, and that whatever kind of transitional period that family is in right now, like I believe that someday they'll come out better. Like you hear the stories about people who got divorced and it was like the darkest time ever, went bankrupt or whatever. But it's like on the other side of the horrible things can come like crazy growth and things that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't go through that. And that's not to say they truly are in a transitional period, that ends in like divorce or something. Yeah. It could definitely end in a beautiful mend of their relationship. That's what we're hoping for them. But like we also know that like we went through our really kind of like dark period in our relationship when we were very new parents, when our kids were super tiny, and that's also has its own challenges when you're trying to get through that.
Yeah.
With babies.
We didn't hit on this, but it's something that's really important to me, that like the co-sleeping, the trying to get so much time and experiences with our kids. And something that I think, like, even though this isn't an advice video, that's so important is that creating these experiences and not getting lost in just, it's all business. Like you hear like, and I love Gary Vaynerchuk's stuff, but you hear about like his dad never saw his dad because he was always at work. And I'm sure he's got to be somewhat similar because he promotes being a workaholic. And like, I get it. Like, I'm all for working your ass off. I think that you need to be as efficient as possible with your time and still try to create a lot of quality time with your kids. And the direction of where I'm going here, and kind of like my little final piece of our conversation, is just because, you know, I keep bringing up to you that like a kid gets most of what they're going to get from their parents and their attitude and like all the things, like the majority of that's learned by the time they're 7. And so if you do it all for your kids and then you aren't there for them for those crucial years where they're becoming who they're going to be and potentially have the greatest effect on that towards their good. Like it's kind of like becoming successful monetarily and then being a fat ass. Like, that's not cool. That's not winning. Like, winning is not having a huge surplus in one part of your life and a huge deficit in the other. Winning is, you know, constantly working to make all the parts of your life better. Well-rounded
success.
Yeah.
It's so true, because when you talk about having like $100 million business or whatever, it's not like I want to have $100 million business and you're going to look around and be divorced and your kids are going to hate you. Like, no, like the true success in the $100 million business will be then the life that we're living and the experiences we've given our kids and what we're building for our kids.
Yep.
So yeah, that was really cool. That was pretty solid, because it's so true. And I know it's hard. You may disagree with what I'm about to say, but you are at a point now where you are home every day at 5. You don't work on the weekends. But in the beginning years, you were working your ass off.
Yep.
And you still, I mean, every day you're working, 10 hours or more? Like, still, even if you're done at 5, you start so early that, you know, you're still working 10-hour days. Yep. But you've adjusted your schedule in such a way to really be there for the kids and not just come home at bedtime.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I would like to go out on a limb and say the more I learn about how I'm always constantly trying to figure out what I can do to be more efficient and get more done. I'd like to go out on a limb and say I get a fucking shit ton done in
you do
4 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and because honestly, that's where 4 to 5 hours, other than like some like little cleanup work and sending estimates, is really what I usually typically work in the business. Other than that, it's creating things like this, trying to help other people, trying to do more. That's kind of how I've arranged my days now. But it's crazy that, and I've always been really tied to this, and you'll speak to this too for the family, that like you get so tied to that 9 to 5, thinking 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever it is. You think that you have to be working and solid working during that period. I've just been so hung up on things like that throughout my entire life, because that's just how I was raised. It's what you see. It's what you're programmed to do. It's how school programs you, you know, like everything in your life is programming who you become, whether you are okay with that or not. Like, you're being programmed. Like, I've recently, like, I changed my whole schedule around on how I do estimates and when I do estimates, because then in the evening, in the afternoon, I'm free, other than like, I don't have any commitments to meet people. I'm good to actually accomplish whatever I need to accomplish or throw together some estimates really quick. But it's allowed me, the way I've arranged my day. Like, I didn't even think, like, at first I thought afternoon appointments were better for people and it was better for me. And now I'm like, well, morning's better for me all around. And then we start talking about these phone call estimates. Like, it's just crazy that you just don't even open your mind to what's possible. Like, this is about your family still. Like, you don't even open your mind to what's possible because you're so used to these social norms and how everything operates, and you don't realize there's so many more things you could be doing to accelerate how fast you can do things, so you can have more time for your family and not just be saying, I'm doing it all for my family, and I'm still beating that drum and not trying to figure out how I could do it any better, you know?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When we had Blake in 2017, I had Blake at 7 p.m. on a Sunday. I drove us home from the birth center at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, because you were exhausted and I was on a birth high, so it sounds bad, and you were at work at 6 a.m. on Monday. that really sucked, bro.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation throughout the years about you coming from everything that you just said and your perspective, and then your take on like people that work in the field, guys that just work their asses off, like that working man thing, is guys should just get back to work. Paternity leave, unnecessary. That and I'm not like putting you on blast. I feel like this is a cool time to have this conversation. And then in the most recent years, I think that we've really, in all the work that you've done, I think we've evolved our thinking, because I mean, there's studies now that are showing like, obviously postpartum depression is a horrible problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, we've tried to put the blame on other things, but a lot of it comes down to the kind of support you get from your partner. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that comes down to parents and fathers not being able to take time off work and doing exactly what you did as a business owner, yep. but having to go back to their job immediately and not being there to support their person. So we've implemented a maternity and paternity leave policy in our company.
Yeah.
And doing that, like putting that in the handbook, having that and being able to announce it to our team, to see people are going to be able to take advantage of that as they are having kids. It's beautiful to me, because honestly, I look back on that and that was like, I was so mad at you.
Yeah.
That is, and the fact that I felt like I kept wanting you to be home, like wanting the support, needing the support. And it just like wasn't getting through to you, because you go to work, because it's a work day, because it's Monday, you go to work. It doesn't matter what just happened, a few hours ago, that there's a new baby here, like we go to work. And, so I think that that's kind of a cool thing that like, I wonder, like, would you approach those things differently? And this is neither here nor there, because it was the first year you started your business. But as I was in labor with Jace, you also went to go work as I transferred hospitals because my condition was worsening and it was a really fucked up situation. You were at work. Just some memories, just some fun relationship memories. I mean,
it's like there's going to be times where you've got to make massive sacrifice, right? I know?
We're in such a different place then.
And the thing is like, if I had me to be around to help me be better when I was starting, maybe I could do what I do now, but I didn't have me. I had so much learning to do. I had so much education that needed to be done. I'm much different than who I was then. That's the beautiful thing about business is, you can't take away what you learn. Like you'll never take away, like you can take away everything I have, but you won't ever be able to take away what I know. And I think that's what's really powerful to teach the kids as well. I would definitely do things differently if I could, but I don't know if I see a way that I could have done it. Like I was so obligated, you know what I mean? And I did everything to make it be where we're at now.
It's so true. And I see it.
And now I see the efficiencies I can do to make it where I can continue to have those massive jumps, but not affect us as poorly.
You know what I would say though? No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't hold any resentments. But what I would say to somebody who's in that similar situation is to have the conversations, because for a while I was really resentful of you, and it also made me resent the business, because it was like, fuck this business that he can't be here for me in this, like, even just for a few hours. Like, and then maybe that lends itself to like, shit's fucked at home. I don't know why she's so mad at me. It's like, how do you approach those situations and those big things? I mean, obviously it's a big example of like the birth of a child, but again, we are committed to oversharing, and that's like a very real experience that we had. And that shows how tied you were to the business, and how the motivation to like not be tied to the business anymore and to learn new things and learn new ways, because I know now you won't ever miss anything important with the kids. Like now that the kids are older, I know that in the way you've evolved and the inner work you've done on yourself and the way you've structured your life and your business is like, if something was happening during the day and the kids wanted you to be there, like you'd be there. And that's beautiful. And I think that's what really matters. And I think that we've come so far, and I love that. I love who we are as parents. I think we're good parents. I think we give 100% of ourselves to kids. And I know that there are conversations out there that are like, marriage has to come first. All these other things have to come first. And I do believe that we do have to put ourselves first in the work that we're doing on ourselves. And obviously our marriage is a huge priority, and it's like we water the garden of the marriage, but this season of life, man, it is so short. And I hear what I just said from a lot of people that don't have small kids. So if you are someone that's in the trenches with small kids right now, like we are there with you. It's
not going to last forever, and I'm not going to be able to tell Jace when as he's falling asleep, I love you more than anything, and you're everything to me. Like I'm not going to be able to hold him and tell him that when he's 40, you know, when he's 20, when he's 8, probably he'll be over me.
Someday we're not going to have 2 queen beds pushed together. We're only going to have 1 queen bed, hopefully a king bed. It's going to be sad.
Yeah.
And we're going to think back to those times when in our last house we lived in, we can end on this if you want, because I know that we got to wrap it up. But when we lived in our last Florida house that we were renting, and our bedroom was literally just 2 queen beds, and the owner was going to go sell it, the realtor came in to take pictures, and they took pictures and posted pictures of everything except that room. It made me laugh so hard, because it's like, yeah, that's probably not the norm to see in a real estate photo, but we are very proud of who we are and who we are as parents. And anyone that is doing this whole business thing and kid thing, no matter how old your kids are or where you're at in it, like, we applaud you. You are just so not alone. And I would love to know more about people's experiences with life. So I think that's like the call to action I kind of want to end on is send, Jacob Godar on Instagram or Nicole Godar on Instagram, and it's linked in the podcast description. Send us messages. Tell us how you do this whole thing, how you juggle stuff. We would love to hear it.
Hell yeah.